Now I'm going to add additional information to sketches. For instance, here I'm using the arrow tool to draw an arrow. You see that arrows can be modeled by using the handles. I can also type a label for the arrow. Another thing that I can do is to create camera movement. In this case, I want the shot in this pane to start exactly like in the previous shot. So I create a second camera position. I move it and I scale it the way that I prefer. I can also rotate the camera. You see that in this case I've created a zoom in movement, but if I want a zoom out movement, I can use the reverse animation command. And if I want to check the way the camera is moving, I can open the preview window. The movement will last exactly the duration I set in the panel. As soon as I change something inside the panel, the preview window is automatically updated. Another element that I can add to the panel is the layer animation. So I'm selecting now this rock, and I'm going to copy and paste it into a new layer. Now you can see that I can scale the rock without affecting the background, which is a separate element. Now I will use the eraser to erase the background part that I don't want to see. When my layer is ready, I can use the edit tool to create a starting position. I can also rotate the layer, and I can then select the ending position and define also the layer for the ending position. Now I can open the preview window again, so I can check that now not only the camera is moving, but also the rock is moving. To have a full control of all these elements, and for additional elements, I can move to the timeline view. The timeline view has a big preview area and the timeline itself. I have an area also for the panel, for the camera animation and for the layer animation. I can scroll through the timeline by using the scroll bar, or I can use the current frame cursor to move through the animatic. I can also zoom the timeline in and out. And then I can use the controls here for the animatic playback. Of course, I can also control all the elements that are inside the timeline. I will start changing the panel duration. You see that if I click and drag the end of a panel, I can change its duration. In this case, I'm also shifting all subsequent panels. Or if I control click between two contiguous panels, you see that I'm changing only their duration without affecting all the subsequent ones. Another control is for the animation. In this case, I have the camera and layer animation for this specific panel. I can move the starting point and the ending point of the animation, so to create some section in which, for instance, in this case, the camera will stand still. I also can use the markers available here to create an ease in and ease out movement, that is to say an acceleration section and a deceleration section for the movement. And of course, all this editing is available for the layer animation as well. An additional element that I have in the timeline is the possibility to add audio tracks. So this means that now I can add audio clips inside my animatic. So I will import one clip. and then I can play it back.
Dove siamo?
Of course, I can move the clip that I loaded, so to put it in sync with some specific panels.
Dove siamo?
And I can also decide to add a second clip to the track. Of course, this clip can be moved as well and placed to a different position. I can also create a second audio track, and then I can move the clip to the second audio track, and I can also copy and paste it from one track to another. And I can also create some editing. For instance, I can trim the audio. In this case, for instance, you can see that there is a section at the beginning of this audio file that I don't like, so I can trim it. And you may also see that when I'm dragging the current frame cursor, the current audio track is being scrapped. And the same is if I change the audio tracks number 2, audio tracks number 2 is being scrapped. Now I'm going to delete all these audio files, and in order to add the complete tracks that was already prepared, I'm loading one track for the dialogue and another track for the background music. So now you see that if I play back the animation, I will see both the dialogue and the background music. Maybe the background music is too loud, so I can change the volume setting here. Now it's better. I can also turn a track off. Or turn it on again. The last element is the possibility to add some transitions. In this case, for instance, I'd like to have a black fade in at the beginning of this panel. So I'm selecting transition fade in. You see that I have this strip available that let me set the duration of the black fade in. Here I can add a dissolve. Also in this case, I can decide how long has to be the dissolving transition. So now this is my final composition for the first section of the animatic.